2. Did a few little things. Got the head gaskets and head bolts and stuff. And couldn't find my little feeler gauges as I kind of left off on the oil pump yesterday. But I went and grabbed a few feeler gauges. Unfortunately, this takes a lot of feeler gauges to do. So basically, you want to go 2/1000ths, or I don't even know what you'd want to call that, but that's the thickness. It's pretty thin, and you basically want to kind of just go up and across, and then one there and one over here, and then you want to take a couple wherever they're at here and stick in between the oil pump drive itself, which that one's just kind of tucked behind the feeler gauge right there. Now you can go buy a bunch of feeler gauges, or the store I went to only had 3 feeler gauges, so I bought all 3. And you can actually cut one of your feeler gauges off and then split it into 4s, and that's what I've done here to come up with the extra chunks of feeler gauge. So anyways, I got this all feeler gauged out. I tightened up the oil pump bolts, which are 18 foot-pounds. Tightened up, after I did that, then I tightened up the pickup tube, leaving all my feeler gauges set. Got the 13mm nut down there tightened up, and now I can pull out my feeler gauges, and should be all nice and set here. And then when you're putting your feeler gauges in here, you want to go with the top part, because this bottom part's always going to have a lot more room in it. So you want to go on the, I don't know what you want to call that, just the little top part of the cog there. Okay, got all those out. This is all torqued together. Timing gear, or the cam, I torqued that yesterday. All this stuff is all tightened, so I'm going to put the cover back on, which is like 106 inch-pounds, but that's like 8 foot-pounds, so I'll probably do between 8 and 10 foot-pounds on the little bolts around this. I'm going to put some petroleum jelly inside here, and I think the other thing we're looking for too is that this, you don't want to pull it out completely, but is that this is free, so you got a little tolerance on each side of it. So something else you're kind of looking for. But we'll get that filled up, get the cover back on, and then we'll do a little prep work to this part of the block surface before we put the heads on while the motor's upside down, and then we'll roll this guy over, and we'll start working on the heads. Almost forgot about the oil pan. Anyways, there's nothing really technical about the oil pan. These are the same thing. They're like 8 foot-pounds or 106 inch-pounds. But if you follow me on Instagram, then you probably already kind of saw this, or if you follow the Facebook page. But so this was cracked. I set the engine down on the jack and didn't realize the jack was still up, and it actually cracked the oil pan. So I drilled at the ends of the cracks, and then I went and bought some real cheap Harbor Freight aluminum abrasion rod. And I know the problem with aluminum is especially probably cast, is it's got to be heated up evenly, and then it's got to really cool down slowly. So I ended up just putting the whole oil pan, I cleaned it up really good, put the whole oil pan in the oven at 500 degrees for about an hour, pulled it out of there, grabbed my torch, heated up this area as quick as I could, put the abrasion rod in there, and let it kind of fill up. And then I grabbed it as quick as I could and went and shoved it back in the oven, and left it on 500 for probably another 15 minutes, and then I turned the oven off and I let it slowly cool inside the oven the entire night. The next morning I filled it up with water, and never leaked. No leaks or anything. I know it's not real pretty, but I'm not going to grind it or do anything weird. And then on the inside it was kind of like stalagmites or whatever you want to call them in the caves that are hanging down. So I did have to grind those off and grind in there a little bit. Still, like I said, no leaking or anything, but I was just a little bit nervous, so I roughed it up really good on the inside and put just a real light skim coat of JB Weld, the 24-hour set stuff, and that stuff set up rock hard. I sanded it down and leveled it all out in the pan, and I'm not afraid of it chipping off or breaking or anything. So, but anyways, that's how I fixed the oil pan, and hopefully it'll hold up and not break or do anything crazy. So anyway, so I was talking about, before I flip this motor over, a few things you can do to help yourself out on this is spray all these head bolt holes with some brake clean and use your air wand and go ahead and get those dried out and clean, because those are a real pain. If you have any oil or anything in there, your head bolts won't tighten all the way and you risk breaking one. So I'm going to do that real quick, hose those down, take my air wand, blow them out both sides, and then we'll get this motor rolled over and we'll see about getting the heads on it. Alright, well, I got the other head on already. Just kind of got going and just decided to just finish it up real quick, but I saved this head for us. So I'm going to put in the last lifters here in this little, I don't know, the retainer or something, but just with the camshaft, same thing. I'm going to put a little Moly graphite engine assembly lube on here. Just going to kind of roll it on the lifters a little bit. Smear it down them. Now on these things right here, they have these little cutouts. I've been told those go down, and that's just for oil drainage. Just like that. Got your special shouldered little 10mm bolts. And you just torque them down 10 foot-pounds, 8 foot-pounds, something like that. Okay, then I'm going to work on the surface of the head, make sure it's super duper clean and nothing on it, and make sure, you know, none of this stuff is actual crud on top of the cylinder. It's just stained in, you know, whatnot, and we'll get the head gasket on, and then we'll get the head on. Alright, well, these are the head gaskets that I use. Anybody wants to know? These are just the multi-steel, kind of like the sort of the factory uses, I guess. But you can use whatever head gasket you want. These are kind of expensive. They're $70 or $80 a side. But these are going to work a lot better with boosted applications versus the Feld Pro kind of composite style head gasket. And then you should have a thing. This is front. It actually says front on both sides because it could be used on either head. I'm just going to set them on like that. And don't forget, you have these little dowels that a lot of times get stuck in the head or they get stuck in the block. And I've actually pulled a few LS motors apart and they're actually just missing them all together. But you do have little dowels that can go there to help hold everything together. So I'm going to get the head cleaned up real quick and then we'll slap the head on and we'll go over to torque. Alright, we got our head back on there. And just a head bolt set. Now if you use, I think the motors are 99 to like 2003 maybe. They're going to use a different head bolt set. They're actually going to have really long head bolts and then a couple of short head bolts. This is a 2005 engine, so it's got the same length head bolts all the way down through it. And the torque spec is slightly different on it, but we're not going to alter it too much. We're actually going to go just a slight bit tighter when we torque all these down. Why they wrap them in twos, I don't know. But they do. So I'm going to get all these set in there. And then I'll show you how I mark them and all that stuff. And I'll get them all torqued up. Okay, as I usually do, I just leave myself a little torque sequence. I just write it on the center of the valley cover there. Now the torque sequence I've been finding on these are 22 foot-pounds, 90 degrees, and 70 degrees. Well, we're just going to do 90 degrees and 90 degrees. I don't really think it's going to matter that much. In fact, that's what I did on the Gremlin, and that's a 2006 engine. And it's been just fine. So anyways, we're going to start out by doing our 22 foot-pound torque. Which I may have to see if I can do this with one hand here. Okay. So that would be 1. The one under it's 2. And then this one over here would be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So I'm going to go ahead and get all these torqued up. And then, like I said, this is just the first part of torquing, and then I'll show you how I degree them, and we'll go from there. Okay, well, I had some people complain about it the last time I showed this, but I'm sure they got over it. It's hard to do with one hand, but I go around and just put myself a line right in the middle and the top as best as I can, and then the first torque is 90 degrees. That line should be pointing this way, and then the next step is going to be another 90 degrees. Well, technically it would be 70, which would be somewhere like that, but we're just going to point it straight down, and then that'll be it. So just 2 steps of 90 degrees, and then we'll torque the last little bolts. Alright, well, that's the first step. They're all turning that way. I got one more set of 90 degree to go, and then they're going to be pointing straight down. Alright, so these are all torqued. And you just do these little ones up here, which are just 22 pounds. That would be technically bolt 11. That's bolt 12. 13. 14. 15. Okay, and like that the heads are on, both of them. So we'll get this motor spun around, we'll look at the timing cover real quick and get this bad boy wrapped up. Alright, well, these front timing covers can be a little tricky. A lot of people are kind of freaked out about doing them because you got to have them centered just right on the oil seal or they'll leak on a harmonic balancer. Now I'm not going to actually put this on for good, but I'm just going to give you an idea of how I've done it, and I've never had a front seal leak on me. So I'll just set a couple screws in there just to hold it. So basically how I do it is I just get it on there like I got it here with just these screws loose on it, and then I put the harmonic balancer in, and then I'll spin the motor over at least one revolution, and that kind of just centers everything up. And then what you want to do is torque all these bolts around, then you do your bottom oil pan bolts. By doing that, you shouldn't have any issues. I know I've never had any issues with the front timing seal leaking. In fact, I'm not even going to change this one because it looks fine. And you know, that's like, maybe I've been lucky, I don't know, but that's how I've always done it, and I've never had too many issues, or actually any issues with it. So anyways, I think that's going to kind of wrap up the video. I am waiting for my drill kit, so I have to pin the crank on this running the supercharger, and there's a kit you buy. It's got a special kind of spacer you stick on here with your bolt, and it's got a hole that's perfectly aligned in between this and the harmonic balancer, so you can drill a 1/4 inch hole and then put your pin in, and that way it's pinned. So I gotta wait for that to come on, so that's why I'm not going to actually bolt up the cover. But I'll probably still put the engine in the car, because I can do all this stuff with it in the car. So that might be a video tomorrow, we'll see. If not, it'll be a video for sure next weekend. But I want to clean up this timing cover a little bit. I got a new seal for it, or a gasket for it, and we'll go from there. And then all the people that have been asking me about the Javelin, the one I went and drug out of the hills about a month ago or so. What we're gonna do, we're gonna try to do something with it, but that's up at my parents' house, and they're 120 miles from where I live, and it's way up in the mountains, and currently that Javelin is covered under like 2 feet of snow. So until the weather gets nice up there, which eventually it does, probably not going to do much with it, but I do have some stuff going on with it as far as parts being ordered, and you know, I think we'll do something fun with it. So hopefully that'll answer a few questions about that. Like I said, it doesn't really matter. Even if I go up there right now, it is just buried out there in snow. So I'm not very ambitious to go dig for it and dig it out and even look at it, because I don't have any tools up there, and I don't have any parts right now to do anything with it. I do need to clean it out, but I don't like the cold weather, so I'm not going to go out there and spend an hour getting cactus quills stuck in my fingers in the cold trying to dig it out and clean it out. So we'll do more videos on it as soon as the weather's nice again, so that'll probably be a couple of months. But in the meantime, we're getting a few parts for it, and we're going to do something fun, I think, with it. There is no title for it or anything like that, so it's just going to be a drive around up in the mountains type of vehicle. So we'll do something with it. So all right, well anyways, I appreciate everybody watching. Hopefully this helps some of you guys out there. I've had a few people ask me why I won't just spend real money and actually do these the right way or whatever. Well, I think the average person's gonna just put a 6 liter together like this, because not a lot of people have a whole bunch of money to throw at them. And other than the supercharger, you know, I'll have maybe $2,000 into this motor. So, you know, you can go buy a Summit engine, sure, you can go buy a long block for $7,000-8,000 but you still gotta go get some more parts for it. So in my opinion, this is the quickest, cheapest way to do this, and we've still gotten over 600 horsepower out of that old 6 liter. So this one here is in a lot better shape than that old 6 liter. So I think for 600 horsepower, for the amount of money I got into it, I think it's a fine example and a perfect build. And I think I'm not going to spend any more money on it and stuff. And if you guys want to send me a crate engine, I'll use it, but until then I'm going to use what it's available to me and what I have. So alright, well, we'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks for watching.